Hello, and welcome to this episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I have the lovely Marilyn Harper joining me today. So for those of you who don't know, Marilyn Harper has been bringing through messages of higher guidance for more than 22 years as the divine link for Adironnda and the Council of Light. By the power of spirit, she receives and conveys love, activations, healing, and wisdom from higher dimensions, including ascended masters, archangels, and galactics. After a walk-in in 1993 and her spiritual awakening in 1996, she became a Reiki Master. Soon after, Marilyn realized that she was able to see or sense into the human body and bring messages in from other dimensions. She would leave her body at night and travel interdimensionally to another realm doing healing work. One of those realms was the 17th dimension where Adironnda first encountered her. Marilyn volunteered by raising her hand, stating, "I will go anywhere, say anything, do anything, as long as you can prove to me that you are God or source moving through me." That was all it took for the source of all that is to connect Marilyn with Adironnda in 1999, and soon after, the Council of Light. Together, they are loving and funny and gently assist in healing the heart, the past, and in activating whatever it is in the highest good to be activated for the betterment of humanity. Adironnda says, they were sent from source to help people awaken faster and prepare them for the Earth's shift into higher dimensions. Marilyn Harper co-authored Double Digitology, Decoding the Messages of the Universe through the Power of Numerology with her business partner, Joeaux Robey. Marilyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I am so thrilled to be here with you today, Liz. I
Thank you
love
so
your show. You just cover so many interesting topics.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. I appreciate that. And I too love having you here. Love that you're joining the group here on Raise the Vibe with Liz. You've definitely been raising the vibe over the years since the 90s. So let's jump right into that. So, your walk in experience, for those who are unaware of what a walk in is, would you mind describing that a little bit and what your experience was?
Absolutely. And it's also changed over the years. So initially, when I walked in 1993, it was a complete soul exchange. A walk in is a person where the original soul that was born into this body departs, and instead of the body dying, a new soul comes in to take their place. And quite honestly, Liz, I would not have believed that it was even possible had it not happened for me. I had, I went into the hospital with complications following a surgery and came out of the hospital really a different person. And I didn't realize what had happened for about 3 years. And so it was pretty challenging moving through life at that time. Now it's interesting. In the beginning, this was the walk-in is a phrase coined by Ruth Montgomery. She wrote the book Strangers Among Us, um, I guess in the 80s, maybe the 90s. But she in the past 10 years, the walk-ins that are coming in are integrating much more quickly, and so it's really their higher self is becoming a composite with their regular self. And the thing that you can tell if you're a walk-in is you have a sudden change of awareness and really suddenly have a burning desire to make a difference in the world. You may have a change in your tastes or your skills or the things that you prefer to do. That's not quite as drastic as it was in the 90s. It used to take about 8 years to fully integrate. And now, yeah, I mean, it was a little challenging at times, and definitely challenging for some of the walk-ins that came in then. And now it's a much smoother process. Both myself and my business partner Joeaux Robey are both of us are walk-ins. She walked in the next generation in 2009, and I in 1993. So it's quite an opportunity. And as a walk-in, you have I used to believe that it was a different soul that came in, but now I know that it is the same soul, several generations more advanced. So you come in with many of the same characteristics many times, and but your skills are much more advanced. And I believe that the healing ability that I came in with was definitely attributed to the walk-in.
Interesting, Marilyn. Do you think that the speed at which that they're coming in now is due to the increase in energy and frequency that we've been experiencing over the last several years?
Absolutely. We are in a new age. We're in a new time. After 2012, really everything changed, and the energy that is coming in is so rapid. I mean, you can think about something and it becomes manifested. You can feel something and it becomes manifested. It's one of those things that be very aware of what you think and feel, because it's being created almost before you feel it, and it is that's I think that's why so many different healing modalities are coming through right now. And they make chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry for a reason.
Mhm.
Some things uh, you know are more familiar than other things are. And when I first started connecting and doing Reiki sessions with people, it was a pretty simple thing. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing other than just Reiki. And then after I was attuned to Reiki level 2, I actually realized that I had the ability to see or sense. I mean, it wasn't like always seeing with my eyes wide open, but I could see inside or sense inside of the human form, which surprised me the first time it happened. But I've built a whole healing modality, a certification program based upon that premise. Oh,
Oh, we lost your picture.
there. Oh, oh, there.
There you
Uh-oh.
are.
Uh-oh. Something happened here.
Oh,
Hang
that's
on just a second. You can tell this is live TV, right?
it's fantastic. I love
There,
it when those computer glitches happen. It's part of the process, right?
yes.
And with this, you were talking about this healing modality that you've created. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, I will be happy to.
Wonderful.
And I'll see if this camera is going to hold here. I'm not sure what happened. But holographic healing, you know, when I first heard of Messages from the Water, Dr. Emoto's work, um, that was all about the same time that I was attuned to Reiki Master. Now, when I first started, I was at Reiki level 2, and I mean, I'll always remember my very first session, that when I realized that I could sense into someone's body. This person, the client, and she's given me permission to share this story. She really had an eating disorder, and she couldn't she couldn't really eat in front of anyone. So
Mhm.
we were good friends, and we would go out to eat, and I noticed that she really never ate. She just kind of pushed her food around on her plate so it looked like she ate. And I asked her about that, and she said that every time she eats, she gets a really bad stomachache. And she does it, whether she eats by herself or whether she eats with people. So she's just very cautious, and needless to say, she's extremely thin. And so I, I had been doing Reiki sessions with her. And so then I asked if I could work on her digestive system. And not knowing what was going to happen, I just figured that the Reiki energy would go wherever it needed to go. And I went into her digestive system, and I very clearly, in my mind's eye, saw knots, like rope, tied in knots in her stomach.
Wow.
Now, I know. My logical brain says, well, that's not possible. and, because a person can't have knots in their stomach. And then I thought, for the time being, I thought, well, if this is a part of her stomach, I don't know the anatomy of the stomach. So if this is something that I can't help, make it so she cannot see it. And if she can see it, then I can help remove it. And so, we just kind of both went into her stomach and digestive system, and I asked her, what is your first impression of what you sense inside? And she says, it looks like ropes. And I thought, yay. So we both worked energetically on untying those ropes and smoothing them out and removing them. And as far as I know, to this day, she doesn't have an eating disorder.
Oh, that's
So
fantastic.
it is. And so that kind of set me on the premise of, well, if that's possible, what else is possible? And then I ran into Dr. Emoto's work, Messages from the Water.
Hmm.
And I thought, well, shoot fire, if he could change the molecular structure of water, then the human body is made up of a lot of water. So I decided to start working methodically on energy work and healing, and now I have documented it, and it's holographic healing. And what the premise is we actually put the human form almost like a hologram in
Hmm.
front of us or in our perception, and we start rearranging things. And of course, as you well know, that the emotional body is every bit as important as the physical body, and the two are dependent upon each other. So we go into, you know, it's my premise that everything that happens to you really happens every 7 years. And it's an emotional reaction every 7 years. It may not be the same situation, but it still happens whether it's in this lifetime or any other lifetime. And, I worked on a lot of people that were um, a more religious background, so they didn't accept the premise of past lives, which
Hmm.
to me, I thought that was crazy because it's just a fact of life. But you have to deal with where your client is. And so we went back into their childhood and went back in as far back as they could consciously remember, and worked through the Akash with their emotional recognition of the programs or the original cause of whatever their ailment was at that moment. And it was fascinating. I mean, for the person with the ropes in her stomach, we went back into the fact that they were always had to sit at the dinner table each night, but her father was an alcoholic, and so you never knew when it was going to be safe and when it wasn't. And so that's what caused all of the digestive problems that she'd had really all of her life. And so that was pretty amazing.
Wow, that is amazing. I can feel it in my stomach. I'm just going to try to let that go.
Yeah, don't take that on.
Just
you know,
relax my stomach.
as a healing practitioner, that so many really good practitioners are very empathic.
Hmm.
And so I teach in holographic healing how to protect yourself from that, because there's really no reason for you to feel the pain or the problem of someone else.
Right.
That first of all, it's not healthy, and and I didn't even realize that was possible. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't really have a lot of formal training in healing. And I, you know, went and bought all the books on how to heal people after I was attuned to Reiki because I thought I'm going to be a healer when I grow up. And
Great.
I found out the next morning I couldn't read them. I mean, they all looked like Arabic. It was wild. I couldn't read anything for a week, and couldn't. I still can't read, how to heal or how to books on the human form. And I was told in my guided writing that I was bringing in a new form of healing, and that I was not to learn it from someone else, um, which was a little frustrating for me. Um, I I kind of learned as I went along, and then documented everything, and it was quite. I've had some really amazing results with people on their healing. I have a client that um, she had macular degeneration
Hmm.
and was pretty much blind. She could lay on her bed and not be able to see the ceiling fan. Um, and now she's driving. And
Wow.
so, you know, uh, everything, the body responds to healing holographically. I think the body truly wants to be in alignment, and so that's kind of the way I work is realigning a body, a person. And, a lot of it has to do with their own language, Liz. I'm
Hmm.
sure you're aware and have had people on that you don't claim the diagnosis as your own. People will say, "Oh, I have cancer," or "I had cancer," or "I have back pain," or "I have, scoliosis," or I have a knee replacement," or whatever. Instead, you always speak of it almost in the third person. My doctor diagnosed me with a degenerative disc disease, but
Hmm. I like
and
that.
like it's not, you don't claim it as
Hmm.
yours. But we have really good luck with bones and discs and spines and nerves and a
That's
lot of different aspects. In fact, in the certification, I list people that I've certified. I mean, it took 5 years to develop the program, but I now have about 6 or 8 certified practitioners, and we're teaching it all the time, and they're listed on my website.
that's great. That's awesome. And how wonderful to bring in this new healing modality,
Yes,
to the
it is.
planet.
It is wonderful, and it's really simple to learn, and it really works really well with other modalities. A lot of people are, uh, doing a lot of different kinds of modalities, and it all breaks down to healing with intention.
Hmm.
And that, I mean, that's the key to most any of the healing practitioners that we have here now. And as you know, it's easier now than it ever has been. Uh, I
Hmm.
mean, I honestly, I don't think that there's anything special about me in the development. I mean, I did find out that my great great uncle, that in the old West days, they would call him instead of a doctor because there was no doctor there, and he had the ability to stop bleeding with his hands and
Wow.
actually mend broken bones with his hands. And
Wow.
I know, and I think that's why. Uh, I think that was the energy that Adironnda. Um, Adironnda is the spokesbeing for the council that I channel.
Hmm.
I think that healing energy drew Adironnda to me. Um, and so that was kind of an interesting occurrence. I, in the beginning, I mean, this was in the 90s as I was awakening. I started doing guided writing, or some people call it automatic writing. Um, and I teach that in the class, How to Channel, even if you think you can't. um, and, you know, it was kind of like a how-to manual. And that's how I found out that why I couldn't read, and why I couldn't do someone else's methods.
Right.
And yeah, and it was through that energy, that the healing energy, I guess. In the 90s, I didn't know anything. I was deacon in the Christian church. I was selling advertising for a country western radio station in Missouri. I,
Wow.
I mean, I was as normal as you would ever want to be. And all of a sudden, everything changed. And, um, and uh, I guess after I woke up and when I volunteered, as you said in my introduction, I held up my hand and said, "I'll go anywhere, I'll do anything, I'll say anything, as long as you can prove to me that you're Source moving through me, or God moving through me." Um, I, I actually left my body at night and would go into another dimensional realm. Um, I guess the 17th dimension, which is where the energy of Adironnda connected with me. they said that I had, and all that I know about that encounter, people have asked Adironnda.
Hmm.
They said that I had blue light coming through my hands, and so they knew that I could indeed hold their energy, and it was pretty interesting when I
Yeah, that
first
is
started.
interesting. What was
Yeah.
that for other people who have had spiritual awakenings? Can you describe a little bit what your experience was and what you would describe as your spiritual awakening?
Well, after I walked in, I didn't have the same skill set. I didn't like the same things. I had trouble wearing the same clothes that my walkout wore. Um, and so, I mean, it was, everything was so different. I honestly thought that I had had a stroke or lost my mind or something had happened when I went back into the hospital after with complications of the
Hmm.
surgery. And but the first time I heard about a walk-in, I I realized that had to have been what happened to me. And then I started developing it. And then I actually started with an energy session. I had a friend that was, 3 steps ahead of me. He was also a walk in. We were actually graduate students together, and we really didn't care for each other much as graduate students. But after we both walked in, we were like best friends. So that was pretty wild. And he got his master's in theater and then went and did energy work, which the two don't necessarily relate. And so I had an energy session with him once a week um, for over a year. And I think that my feeling was that the walkout, the walk-in always has to complete the contracts for the walk-in has to complete the contracts for the walkout
Hmm.
and complete whatever task they were supposed to do. And so I felt like I had all these new talents and skills, but I didn't know what they were, and I didn't know how to get to them until I felt like, you can only put so much water in a container, and then it's going to overflow. So I needed to empty out some of the energy, some of the habits, some of the programs in the container so I could get the new, habits or new skills in. And so that's what I did. Um, After about 4 months, I went to a walk in conference. And there is
Wow.
still a walk in organization that is going now, the Wish Alliance. Uh, and she might be a good guest on your show. She has written the most recent book on walk ins, Sheila
Okay.
Seppi. And it, it, it was, it was really quite eye opening for me to realize that there were actually a lot of people that this had happened to. And I started developing the healing skills, and I called it oversoul to oversoul communication. It was actually channeling, but I didn't believe in channeling at the time. And so it was oversoul to oversoul communication.
I like that name.
Yeah, yeah. It was, it's a way of connecting to another person's energy. And when you do that, it, it is, you have that information that's available to you. Because I couldn't read, and I couldn't read anything for a matter of months. Uh, and selling advertising, I had to write commercials and record commercials, and it was pretty wild. I could read while I was recording the commercial, but I wouldn't remember anything about what was said. It was pretty interesting, and but because I couldn't read, I got all the information through my guided writing. And it was really like a how to manual. I asked for confirmation that I was on my path, and I got it. I got a sign that I was doing the right thing and going in the right direction. And it's kind of wild. I remember in the 90s, I met another healing practitioner that was here in the United States from Scotland. And I had never really gone to someone else's healing class besides our Reiki sharing class. And when I went in, he was doing some of the same movements that I do with his hands. And and he said, and when I came in, he said, you can do this. Come over here and sit down here and help me. And I was like, okay. And come to find out, after the session was over, um, uh, we both of us, about the same time, stopped having the ability to read, stopped having the ability to study, and were utilizing the energy holographically in order to go into the human form and rebuild your spinal discs, rebuild your vertebrae, rebuild your bones, and he was the only person that I'd ever met in the 90s that seemed to have the same skill set that I did. And it was interesting that our paths had run parallel to each other, him in Scotland and me in the United States. That was pretty wild. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I don't think there's any mistakes in the
No,
universe. We bump into people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? For this, that, or the other to help us along our way for sure.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then when Adironnda came on the scene in 1999, um, they always have said that I was the healing practitioner. They've never called me the healer. That the person that is experiencing the healing, they are actually the healer, and I am the healing practitioner. And they've always called me the healing practitioner, and they simply magnify that energy. Um, that's why when I teach holographic healing, a lot of people say, well, I can't really channel. Well, I'm like, well, everybody is a channel. um, and and they say, well, Adironnda makes it better for you. And I'm like, not really. I'm the one that really does the work. Adironnda always has said that they just magnify that energy. And it's pretty interesting when you stop and think about everything that has changed in the past decade since 2012. You think, all of the healing modalities that are coming out, and all of the energy, and people are bringing forth so much information. It's really wonderful. So I really thank you, Liz, for bringing in all of the different practitioners to, because chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry,
Yeah.
what will
Something for
resonate with
everyone.
one person will not resonate with another person.
Exactly.
And
I was just thinking that.
yeah, and so it's really a matter of, because I mean I'm pretty bottom line. I don't have all the medical. I've learned a lot of the human body, and because when I've got a client that has an ailment of some sort, then I research it. But I always I work with a lot of doctors, and so I always recommend. I never want to, as a healing practitioner, you never want to tell people do not go see a doctor,
Yeah.
a regular medical doctor. You never want to tell people not to go to a chiropractor or an acupuncturist. And I don't really diagnose. I really like it when they go to a doctor, get a diagnosis, get an X-ray, so we know exactly what we're dealing with.
Hmm.
And it's pretty wild. I figure in some past life I had to have been a physician in some way, because I I know how to read an X-ray. I know how to read the report, the radiology report, which is weird because that's not in my education background at all.
Amazing what you can bring through from a past life.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Exactly.
also think it's amazing how you described you're the healing practitioner and the client is the healer. So it leaves the autonomy and empowerment to the client. I love that for their own
Yes.
personal healing.
We are, people say, well, Marilyn, you healed me. No, I didn't. I simply directed the energy for you to heal yourself. And and this is what I teach in holographic healing, is I teach people to get the client involved unless they're in a coma or unless they're so sick that they can't consciously be involved. And then you go oversoul to oversoul with them.
Mm-hmm.
But it, it's like the client and we both go inside of their bodies. And I figure if there's something that is a karmic, if there's something that that they have to deal with before the energy is removed or aligned, then they have to be able to see what's going on or sense. A lot of people don't see, and I use the term see, even though
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it in my mind's eye most of the time. I have seen things on the outside, but um, it's like the healing is really their journey. It's really their connection. I think that so many practitioners that I have encountered, they have a tendency sometimes to take responsibility for the healing energy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really just a conduit.
Yes.
They really, and I feel pretty strongly about that, in that and I've had people call me that their aunt or their relative is on their deathbed, and they say, please heal them, please bring them back. And if it's possible and if it's in their highest good, I assist with that. But I always make it very clear that divine order is in process. And if that is their divine order, then I'm not going to change that. I will make them as comfortable as possible,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not
Really
going to
is
go
true.
contrary to divine order. You
Yeah, you can
can't.
feel that too. I know when I was running Reiki on my mother when she was in the hospital in February, you just get that sense, to step aside and, let divine order happen. And there's, a sense that kind of comes over you that, the Reiki sometimes helps a person pass over instead of heal them, right? Because you do need
Absolutely.
energy to pass.
A lot of times what I've found is somebody that is in a lot of pain, or someone that's having a lot of trouble, um, and they don't leave or they don't pass over. It's because that they're afraid of what will happen when they pass over,
Hmm.
or they're waiting for someone here on this side of the veil to so they can connect with them. And so I usually, when it seems like they're just waiting, I usually ask the family to, say anything that they need to say, to communicate with them, even if they're comatose or they're not conscious. Their mind is still listening, and I also let them know that, and I've connected with many people at the time of death or shortly thereafter, and it's always the same. Um, they're greeted by their family and their friends, their loved ones, even if they led a horrible life, and were really violent or whatever. They're still greeted with love. And there's no such thing as hell. The The Christians made that up.
Yes, our human constructs. Right?
Yes, yes, and they have retraining. You know, I know many people call it something different because terminology is always a little different with each person. Uh, we call it retraining, and they go to retraining to learn what happened or what it happens differently, and in that energy in the afterlife. But sometimes it just takes when a person is waiting and is fearful about crossing over. um, if you can make them feel and understand that it is very beautiful, very comfortable, and their loved ones are all there waiting, even their pets are there waiting for them, and that it's a wonderful experience, and it's easier. I've experienced some people, and I know I'm not an official medium, although I can connect with people that have crossed over. um, People that are still on this side of the veil but are not alive, a discarnate soul. uh, Sometimes they don't know that they're dead,
Mhm.
and sometimes they want to stay with their loved ones here, and they can actually communicate with their loved ones that are still here on this plane much more easily once they cross through the veil. And I think that they may not know that when someone dies suddenly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Am I making any
Yeah, it
sense? I know we
does.
kind
It
of got
does.
off
That makes
topic
sense.
there.
I know that was a sweet little introduction to, crossing over and what the experience is and what your experience has been working with different clients. And
Yeah,
yeah, that's beautiful.
yeah.
And
It
give us a little glimpse into the other side.
it is. It's interesting because it's always the same. I mean, I've not seen the big tunnel of light or anything like that, but it's always the same that they're so surprised when uh, maybe their dad that was or mom or family member or relative or stranger was abusive to them or did terrible things to them. Once they get on the other side, they realize that person through retraining has has come awake into what happened or what they did or did not do, and there's remorse for that. I've had connected with people's parents that maybe they had an abusive childhood, and and the parents actually they weep and are asking for forgiveness, and that when something horrible we chose that something horrible happens, we chose that when we came in,
Mhm.
because we as evolved beings, we get the opportunity to learn and evolve through every possible experience, which is why we don't have time in just one life.
Right? There's so much to learn.
Yes, there is. There absolutely is.
How does working with Adironnda differ than, say, working energetically with spirit? Can you sense a differentiation between, channeling that spirit as opposed to communicating with our past loved ones? I'm curious.
Yes. Um, uh, when uh, Adironnda is a force all to themselves. Um, they are neither male nor female, and they are both male and female. That's the way they describe it. They don't have physical form. Um, they are kind of a mist if you were to look at them and have a little different lights coming through the mist, and like a fog. They are the spokesbeing for a council of beings that were in human form. So I feel their energy like Jesus or Yeshua, Buddha, Mary. Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Isis, those that have identified themselves on the council, I can feel the difference in their energy. Adironda's energy is very direct. It I don't think it, I don't hear it, I don't sense it. It just comes directly through, and it's a big energy. They when they came in, they said our purpose here is to help people feel all people feel what it feels like to be held in pure, complete, unconditional love. Because if everyone knew what that felt like, then there would be no war, there would be no disagreement. We would honor our differences. And it's interesting, in the past few years, they've actually changed it from unconditional love, which starts with the negative the prefix to infinite love.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how they have changed and grown over the years. They had never spoken through a human form before me, and the way that it's different when I connect with someone that's crossed over, I don't channel them. I don't. First of all, it's getting to them. It's like I use the name and the birth date and the death date, and it's like searching in the ethers for their frequency. And I usually get some sort of detail in the energy to confirm that it's them, and then I hear them or I see them, but I don't channel them. They don't. I'm not. I don't. I'm not a professional medium.
So for those who may not be familiar with channeling, can you go in a little bit? What is channeling? How is that for you? And what are some of the things that Adironnda has brought in through you?
Well, channeling is Adironnda actually calls it the divine link, that you are connecting through an etheric link to a consciousness that is not in physical form. And that's the way they define channeling. Our language doesn't necessarily hold, that's too many words for one
Right.
phrase. So I just change it to channeling. And channeling has a whole major connotation to it that that has a lot of different interpretations. And but
even with your energy work, you're channeling the healing energy.
absolutely,
You are the conduit.
absolutely,
Yeah.
everybody is a channel.
Mhm.
Everybody has the capability to connect with. I mean, most books that are written are channeled. I know Wayne Dyer used to sit at his kitchen table for weeks on end with a yellow legal pad and handwrite it, that channeled information. Neil Donald Walsh made it conscious and consciously had conversations with God. Um, a lot of books that are written, that's how they're, or songs, or art, or music. I know we have a musician that works with us, Randy Luna, that he we have the double digit activation that we do once a month, which is uh, counts counts on the double digit of the month, the numerology of the month, because there's a lot that you can learn from your own numerology, and then he channels music, original music, live in front of the audience, with that's actually encoded with certain symbols, and so that's a form of channeling as well.
That's awesome.
Um, it Adironda, when they first came in, they were they had uh, quite quite the accent. They were a really strong energy, and I had to breathe quite a bit. I've run across some of my original recordings, and I had to breathe a certain way. I call it dragon breathing or pranic breathing. Um, I had to breathe a certain way to keep my vibration high enough to match their vibration. And over the years, they've sort of softened in their energy, and they've learned to actually deal with the human form. I mean, when they first came in, they didn't realize that this body, you know, um, belonged to what they call the vessel. Marilyn, they called me the vessel, uh, and they didn't know that it could move, and so it was quite an undertaking. And now, of course, because we would never read the book about how to channel, right? They move quite a bit, and we do when we're live in person, which we're going to be live and in person in July 22nd or July 23rd and 24th in Newark, New Jersey, teaching.
Awesome.
I know we're going to teach how to channel even if you think you can't. It'll be our first live event in over almost 2 years.
It's been a
Uh,
long time.
yes, it has been, and it's kind of one of those things where we move, we stand up, we move, we actually I have selenite swords of light that are healing tools that I utilize because they really pinpoint that energy and they follow the intention of the user. The selenite swords of light do, and it's the only tool that I use.
Now I
And
know why I was told to bring my selenite in today.
very good, very good. That selenite that follows the intention of the user. And so you can take that selenite and ask it to help you sleep at night, ask it to take away a headache, ask it to help do lots of things. And when Sekhmet, who is the goddess of destruction and the goddess of creation in the Egyptian belief system.
Yes.
She's the goddess with the head of a lion and the body of a woman. And uh, she actually wields the selenite swords of light. And when we're live in front of an audience, um, she will get in, I call it my ninja. Get into physical positions that I cannot possibly get into on my own. And people have miraculous things happen just with that intention. It's really pretty cool.
That's amazing. I can feel it every time you start talking about your channel. The divine triangle sinking in and the grid is sinking in and my head is feeling heavy.
Yes, yes. Adironnda is many years ago. Like I started channeling in 1999, and maybe sometime we'll have a program just about the channeling. But I started channeling in 1999, and in 2001 or 2002, something like that. They said that we needed to merge together. Otherwise, it would be very challenging on me physically. And if you know,
Oh.
in the olden days, before 2012, a lot of channels had a lot of physical problems.
Mm-hmm.
They had kidney ailments, they had a lot of physical problems. And that was because the human form wasn't meant or designed to bring so much energy through. And so they said that we needed to merge together. And so they are always with me. They say that I'm not always with them because you, Liz, you could call upon Adironnda and they would come to you. And you would, once you have met them in that capacity, they know your energy and they have helped a lot of people through flights and through trauma that was in their life, and I may or may not even be aware of it.
That's beautiful. You totally called them in.
Yes.
A circle.
I know. They're like right here.
Right here.
Would you like to have a little message from Adironnda full force?
Yes, let's do it. Since they've, settled in and they're around us, definitely present. Let's do it. I would love that.
I know. It's like, okay. All right. So let me I'll just take a deep breath and get out of the way, and I'll let them communicate completely. So it is good day to you, huh?
Ah,
So very good to see your light, your brightness, your divine presence, dearest divine Liz. Are you aware of all of the work in the galaxies and beyond this physical plane that you are doing? Do you know what you are doing? Huh?
yes.
Many, many people are not aware that they are energy that is far reaching for their intention. You were guided to bring this information and work with healers and star seeds and different beings of light. You are a catalyst for change. That is why you feel so much of the energy that people are bringing through. We would ask that you ask your guidance and remind them that you do not have to feel it uncomfortably in order for you to heal it or to be a process of that healing capacity. We like the rhyme there, you don't have to feel it to heal it.
Love that.
So with that energy, and you can ask question. We are not afraid of question and answer. We love
Oh,
them.
great. Thank you.
So with that energy of clarity, with that energy of the frequency of this planet that is changing now. We are, and starting, we are in the middle of laying down the foundation for this year, 2022, laying down the foundation for a new frequency that is here on this planet. You know that there are new planets coming into this solar system, and there are new planets coming in through this galaxy. And so, in that energy, this is the new foundation. This is the ability to heal the body. This is the ability to connect with the divine. This is the ability to accelerate the process that humanity came in with thousands and thousands of years ago. And now they're just now ready to remember that. And that is a very powerful thing. And you, dearest, as you know, you are a part of that process. You are a part of that connection. And that is why we, our vessel Marilyn, and us, we nudged her to be on your show. And in that energy, it is important to accentuate the skills that are innate in the human form. Your brain and your heart are such a connective force in this galaxy, if you would, and in this universe. And all of the galactics, all of the other, there's 12 root races of extraterrestrials. They're all watching the little slower developing people here on this planet to see how they are evolving through this transformation. For as you know, this is the first time a planet has shifted its dimensional frequency without the planet becoming extinct or the people on the planet becoming extinct. So that is why all eyes are on this earth. Or those, they don't all have eyes, but their attention is here. And with that intention, it is also important to see that energy of love and how it is portrayed on this planet. To see if that energy of love can prevail over the energy of differences. You see what we mean, huh?
Yes. Can
You
you
have
give us a
questions
little
for
bit
us, eh?
more of a description about what's going on right now with this shift that we're experiencing into love? The
Well,
energy of
you
love.
see, humanity, and it is beginning to rain very hard here. So if you hear lightning and thunder, the vessel
That's exciting.
Marilyn loves that. Uh, so with that energy on this planet, because the frequency is changing, because the frequency is raising, and all people are experiencing more intuitive energy, more information as it is coming through, and because of that, many times they don't know quite what to do with it. That is why the energy has been amplified for the awakening. And you know, there are some leaders are acting as a way of ego,
Mm,
uh, and acting from a place of ego to believe that they can control a group of people with fear. And your planet has already done that. And now it is about not controlling anything, simply loving that energy. And we can see, you're given the example of of things that are not in heart resonance. You know, the situation in Russia and Ukraine, the war there, the travesties that are happening on people and humanity. Well, that was just being volunteered to be brought to light. There have been travesties happening on humanity for all time. And there are actually 1 billion people that are not counted in the 8 billion that are living on this planet because they have been born into human trafficking. They've been born into slavery and are not counted still. And that is why the love energy, that is why the dimensional frequency to raise is coming in so strong that that those things that are not in integrity uh, are going to be highlighted so they can come back into a place of integrity. And whether it is country, whether it is governments, whether it is, drug cartels, whether it is the financial industry, you've already seen breakdown in the financial industry and the housing market and all of that energy. Anything that is not in integrity is going to start imploding upon itself to bring to light those things that are in integrity and to bring to light the discrepancy there and to have humanity in love rearrange it. You know, the, the biases and prejudices of people against those that are simply different from themselves. That is what is coming to light. And it is coming to light that countries that are being led by an egoic leader that is making decisions for their own purpose, for their own private sector benefit, that is also what is being rearranged right now. So it may be a difficult time to move through these times. So that is why we say, hold love in your heart, send love, send wisdom in the energy, and we ask people that every day at 11:11 a.m. to just say a bit of a prayer, to hold the healing of this planet, to hold the healing of the people. And can you imagine what it would be like if every hour at 11 minutes after the hour, a group of people would just send energy to a certain area? Wouldn't that be wonderful, huh?
I love that. What
Yeah.
can individuals like myself and Marilyn do to help with this shift in this process?
Well, first of all, you're doing it. You're teaching people. You're helping them learn that feeling that they have, against another person, that is being made manifest. That feeling that they have against themselves, that is being made manifest. If you have a feeling of, oh, I just don't want to be here, it's just too hard, well, then you will get to contract a disease that will take you out of here. So instead, look, and you teach this, huh? You look at all of the wondrous things. Something wondrous is happening on this planet. And once you understand that you, Liz, and each of you that are listening to this program, you are indeed a part of the solution. And when you're complaining about things, you are a part of the problem. And because whatever you are thinking about now, whatever you're feeling in your heart now, is being made manifest. That is fifth dimensional living. So that is why if you are writing a check out to pay your bill and you're thinking, oh, I hope this passes through the bank, I hope it does, well, then you're creating fear in your checking account. You see what we say?
Mm-hmm.
And so you get the opportunity to really exude love in your energy and only have guests on that can hold that space and exude that same frequency of love, because the galaxies, the galactics, many of the beings in other galaxies have actually evolved beyond what you would call love, because they thought that it was a an emotion that sort of bogged them down and caught and created lots of different challenges. Now they are realizing that they must have that in order for their species to evolve. So they are actually learning that love frequency from the humans. You see what we say?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can help with that. You can, at 11:11 every day, set an alarm on your phone to acknowledge that, just for a moment, to just send wisdom and healing and joy and clarity to all of the leaders of the planet, or to the planet itself. It doesn't have to be some big rigmarole. We've asked our vessel Marilyn to get an app and have that as the reminder on the cell phone. But you see, in that energy, if everyone did that, then things will change. And they are changing. We would just like them to change a bit more quickly. That is one of the reasons we came in, is to, because we saw, we were sent from source energy, because the people on this planet were not quite evolving quite as quickly as they could. And that is why we ask you to feel every day, to know that you are held in the most pure, infinite love possible. And to understand that every cell of your body, every cell of your field is love, if you allow that to be experienced and expressed within you.
I love that.
Yes,
What can
dearest.
we do as humanity, as we're getting these energetic upgrades, to ease our bodies? Because I know a lot of people are having issues physically with the energetic advancement, and it takes a while for the physical body to catch up to the energy body. Is there any advice?
Well, first of all, the body, as it is rotating faster, it is using more minerals than what it used in the past. So you might, be sure that you're getting enough minerals in your diet. Also, you know, if you're being led to do something, do it. The vessel Marilyn was led to juice again. She did that a year or two ago. She was led to do it again. And she thought, oh, that's so much trouble. You can just buy the juice and it's much better. but it is not the same. And to buy organic, the chemicals that they put in the food, if you can only buy uh, regular food that has chemicals placed in it, then you must really energetically clear that with love. And you can send love into a glass of water and make it drinkable. You can send love into your wine and make it a cheap wine taste good. So if you can do that, you can do that with your vegetables. Also, uh, some people believe that the food that they eat will lower their vibration. Now, if you believe that, then it is true, correct? But
Mm.
if you, some people need more protein, some people need plant protein, some people need meat protein. Whatever your body is asking for, provide it. Then, when you are encountering someone, a human, that sort of pushes your buttons or trips your trigger or has a disagreement with you, understand that your buttons are being pushed not based upon what is happening right now, but based upon what has happened in the past. Because the issue is never the issue. It is always something that reminded your cells of some energy that happened to you when you were a child, when you were growing up, or even in past life. And so understand that every single individual on this planet was created with the same essence of source within them that you are.
Lovely.
So, yes, view them with that same respect. And know that, of course, they're all going to be different. It would be dull if everyone were the same. But it is interesting to see the differences and honor them
Mhm.
peacefully.
Is
You see
there
what
a jewel of wisdom that you would like to leave us with today?
well, we believe that every human is made up of love, and that is all. So we ask you to be the love that you are. And that means to allow those things that are unlove like to just fall away and return to that center of love. So, dearest Liz, we honor you for who you are and how you are. And we invite you to join us on our double digit because it is exciting and fun. And we see that message of you expanding greatly through this entire world. We bid you namaste.
Thank you. Mm. Thank you, Adironnda. And thank you, Marilyn. That was
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely. So I heard right at the end, Adironnda invited you all to the double digit. They in 2009, 9909, they started doing a monthly broadcast on the double digit of the month, like 55667788.
Yes, and we have the 5-5 coming up tomorrow. So those who are listening on YouTube to the premiere, tell us about the 5-5. That's
The
going to be
55, our guest is Mayat Lailani, and she's a wondrous speaker, teacher, and has just written a new book called We Are Light. And Joeaux Robey and myself and Adironnda has a message about the 5-5, which is 5 plus 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is equals a 7, and in numerology. And
Mhm.
each month they take the master number of the month, like tomorrow's 5-5, and they Adironnda tells you a little bit about the frequency of that month and how you can help and how you can serve. And then we have an activation with Randy Luna, our master musician, and he uh, creates original music on the spot. And Adironnda brings in, or one of the beings on the council, bring in a message, an activation to activate that master number within you. And
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah,
Great. I'll have that link down in the notes, down in the show notes. for everybody. And then for those who are listening to the podcast release, which is later this month, we're going to have a link in the show notes, not only for the recording of the 5-5, but for the 6-6 that's coming up just after the podcast release on the 25th.
Also,
And
anybody that registers, we will send them a downloadable copy of our new book, Double Digitology, which
awesome.
gives you the interpretation of the numerology according to Adironnda, which is a little different, and how to figure out your own numerology.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Marilyn. And I have one more question. You mentioned 7, and 7 came up earlier, and I wanted to ask then, what is the significance of 7? Because I know you love your numbers.
I do love my numbers. 7 is the most spiritual of all the numbers. 7 is it's an interesting combination of analytical energy, scientific energy, and intuitive energy. It's sort of stands upon both segments. Adironnda says that it's the most spiritual of all the numbers because it is a bit asymmetrical. It's got the long stem leaning down without any foundation to hold it up, and then it's got a bar across the top, so it's sort of like looking into the future, looking into the energy. So tomorrow, I can't believe it, the 5-5 is here.
Fast, it's going fast.
Yes, it is. Tomorrow, the energy is about taking what you have, understanding yourself more, and then having the courage to step forward into our future and make the changes necessary in your life to be able to accelerate and accentuate whatever your best qualities are and move forward with them.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's
That's
going to be
lovely.
fun. And the 6-6, if you're listening to this later on this month, the 6-6, let's see, the 6, that's a 12, and 6, which is an 18. So 1 plus 8 equals 9, right? Did I add that up right? So that is the ending of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. So our guest for the 6-6 is Catherine Gundling, who is a silent uh, 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 retreat specialist, and it's about ending a cycle that is separate from love, and
Mm.
we're moving into a cycle that is all created of love. So that'll be an
Oh,
interesting
that's
one.
beautiful. That's going to be
Yeah.
good too. That's
Yes.
great. Marilyn, this is awesome. This whole hour has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. How can people reach you? How can they find you?
They can
Besides
find me.
the notes in the in the show.
Absolutely. They can find me at Adironnda.com. That's ADIRONNDA.com. That's Adironnda.com. I do private sessions for sometimes, so they can go online and ask for a private session. They email info@Adironnda.com. That will get them in touch with us, and we have weekly messages that we send out. We have the frequency of the month that we send out. So, and just by listening to this program, you can be a guest free for either the 5-5 or the 6-6, depending on which one you come in at. And you will get a downloadable copy of Double Digitology, our book. Or, of course, you can order it online or on our website or on Amazon, but why not get it free?
That's awesome. Yes, everybody take advantage of that and definitely look up Marilyn and take advantage of all of the wonderful things that she has to offer. Marilyn, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you. This has been lovely.
You are most welcome, Liz, and thank you. Thank you for doing the show. I really appreciate it. And I think Adironnda mentioned one of the reasons why you're doing the show, so that's good.
Yes, and thank you to Adironnda too and the council.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Everybody remember to find Marilyn online and in the show notes below. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Raise the Vibe with Liz. And my website is lizshealingtouch.com. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Bye, everyone.